inaugurated on the day that we celebrate King's birthday, though it is not his actual birthday. His actual birthday is January the 15th. But I want to talk about that for a minute because while I was in Ghana, I did a radio and TV show on King's birthday, January 15th. And it proved quite interesting because the commentator who questioned me, about Dr. King, and one of his questions was the nation of Islam and King, and the fact he evidently had done his homework. He was a young man. He said we had two different points of view. You were a member of the Nation of Islam, Akbar, he was saying, and the Nation of Islam, according to my research, disagreed with King and even King's direction in trying to help black people. And I told him he was absolutely correct, that King had a direction that our leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we didn't go along with it. We didn't think that that was the direction to solve the problem of our people. And so we disagreed with King, and he brought up Malcolm's speeches against Dr. Martin Luther King. But what I had to turn it around is that there are aspects of King's life that in the Western world and probably the people overseas, there's aspects of his life that has been marginalized completely. They don't talk about it, nor do they bring it up. And one of them is King's trip to Ghana, West Africa, in March of 1957. Very interesting story. And for those, the research brothers and sisters on the line, you can find this information in a book called The Days of Martin Luther King by Jim Bishop. And for those who live in Chicago, if you want to get the details of it, there's a man named Bennett Johnson who works for the Third World Press. He's actually the person who orchestrated the meeting between the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Dr. Martin Luther King. But he can give you this information. But King in 1957, the early part of 1957, it was either January or early February, the church bishops at the Dexter Street Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, said to the board that the pastor has been working hard. Now, this is 1957, and you know what was going on with the civil rights movement at that time, and that the pastor needed a vacation. So quite naturally, being of the Negro mindset, they said, we need to send him to Europe, Paris, Germany, England. And it was King who said that, he said, I'd like to maybe go to Africa. Isn't some country in Africa going to be free soon? I've never been to Africa. It was King's thinking. But the other people on the board, the deacons of the church, wanted to send them to Europe because that's the way we thought at that time. If you want to do anything, you got to go where white folks are. You got to go to Europe. So they said, one of the board members said, yes, it's Ghana. They have their Independence Day in March. And King said, well, I'd like to go to Africa. And King, according to what's written by Jim Bishop in his book, King boarded a plane in New York. On the plane with King was Ralph Bunche. Those who know the history of Ralph Bunche at the UN trying to negotiate the 48 war between the Arabs and the Israelis, a black man. And also there was Adam Clayton Powell. They took a plane, stopped in Portugal, made one stop in West Africa, and ended up in Accra, Ghana. And King attended. When I lived in Ghana, a man named Robert Lee, who came there, went to school with Kwame Nkrumah, the first president, and came to Ghana, told me the story of King, where King stayed at, how he got a little sick, and they brought him, he was outskirts of Accra, brought him into the city. He walked through the whole piece. But King was inspired by what he saw, what he heard, and those brothers and sisters that he was able to meet, because Dr. Kwame Nkrumah invited all of those who were involved in the liberation struggle to come to witness the independence of Ghana. And that night at 12 midnight on the March the 6th, 1957, Kwame Nkrumah said the words, and I may not have them exactly quoting him verbatim, but what he said was that the liberation of Ghana is meaningless unless it's tied into the liberation of all of Africa, the total liberation of Africa. The British Union Jack came down and the Ghana flag went up. And in that Ghana flag, there's a black star in the center. And that black star in the center is because of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah attending school in the United States, Lincoln University and University of Pennsylvania, studied Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey had the black star line. And he took that star and put it in the center of the flag of Ghana that is there to this very day. But when King got back, 1 month almost to the day, on April the 7th, 1957, King delivered a speech at the at the Dexter Baptist Church, Dexter Street Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. And that speech is really a landmark speech. Tomorrow, inshallah, when I speak at the Martin Luther King Day celebration here, I'm going to use that speech. Every year, they say, I have a dream speech, and they use that speech, or the one in the night in Memphis before he was brutally assassinated. I've been to the mountaintops. I've seen the promised land. I may not go, but we will get there. But King made other important speeches. But those speeches were against where America was at. Those speeches were telling America that she was, on the wrong course, and he was shaking the moral fiber of a nation that said that they stood for right when they were on the wrong side of history. And one of those speeches was the speech that he delivered exactly 1 year to the day before he was killed on March the 4th, 1967, at Riverside Church in New York. But before he delivered that speech, on March the 31st, 1968, a few days before that, 5 days before that, he delivered a speech at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And in that speech, King went after basically some of the same things about where America was in history. And nobody condemned him as being anti-American, anti-this. He was laying out the bare facts of where America was at, and the fact that where America was at could not be where God was at in terms of the country. And that he was saying, in a way, that America had to correct his way, otherwise she would suffer the wrath of God. It sounds like one of the presidents of the United States referring to slavery, that I fear for my nation to think that God is just. And he was talking about the treatment of the slaves in America, and a just God would not condone the treating of human beings the way we were treated in America. So Martin Luther King Day, as we celebrated, this is his 84th birthday this year. I believe that's 84th year. We need to make Martin Luther King as he was in his final years. Minister Farrakhan talked about the last thing that he wanted to do before he was assassinated, that he was organizing, was a poor people's march. And he didn't say poor black people. He didn't say poor Hispanic or poor white. He said poor people. And he was saying that these are the people in America that need some attention while America's off engaged in an unholy war in Vietnam and spending billions of dollars pursuing a war that they could not win, did not win, and had to leave Vietnam in defeat. And King was the one agitating this. So tomorrow on his birthday, as Barack Obama is inaugurated in front of maybe 1 million people tomorrow will be in Washington. They keep saying the crowd is going to be less, the crowd is going to be less. I don't think so. I think that the level of enthusiasm in his last term will be there. We'll have a good crowd in Washington, D.C. So I just wanted to start on that for tonight. And we're going to walk through a few things that I would like to talk about, because in the lead-in song, it talked about a nation. Sister Cassandra, what was the line that it said, we are a nation? What did it say there?
I'm sorry. Where are you talking about?
The lead-in song, that's your theme song as you go in. There's a line in there.
The song that Country sings. She says, "Your nation of people
Yes.
standing as one."
Yes.
That's kind of lyrics that she made up. But she says, "Your
Who
nation."
who is the lyrics written by? Who is the sister?
That is Conscious Cat. She's the singer that sings my theme song.
Yes.
And also, I don't know if you got the DVD. I mean the CD that I sent you on the Million Man March with the
probably
magazine.
did not, because I haven't. Did you send it after I left the country?
I sent it. It's been a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I didn't get it, my sister. I haven't gotten my mail, so I just got back the other day. So, but I will get it on Tuesday morning. Inshallah, I'll get it. But I just want to make a comment, and then we're going to kind of open it up. This is my opening statement, and I just want to say tonight I have an engagement at 8 o'clock, so at 20 to 8, I'm going to be off the line. If Jamil is back, but Brother Brian, I know, is on the line. And Brother Brian, I want to thank you for your work with me and Sister Angela. When I get back in the country, I always have an article, and they do research and help me with it and do my editing. But I want to thank them very much, and I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I can put together an article, and when I send it to them, they can go through it. If I made the article too long, they cut down on the words so it would fit in the paper. And Brother Bryant, this week, the local newspaper here, St. Louis American, did a nice spread on my gun piece. And I didn't even know it was in there, but people were telling me they saw it. But anyway, in the song that the sister wrote, your theme song, she talks about a nation. And being that I'm talking to a lot of people on this line, I would think that the Nation of Islam across America dominates this line. I want to take the thing from what the minister is talking about right now, his theme for his weekly broadcast. And I was blessed to be with the minister when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad assigned him to do the weekly broadcast back in the 60s when he was sent to New York. And it was a blessing to see him each week turn out those half-an-hour broadcasts in his office. He would sit in his office at the mosque in New York, his secretary, myself, and the minister. And he used that Niagara recorder, and he would make these tapes that were profound, unbelievable. And I think there's a collection. Our nation's archivist, Brother Carlos, has, I think, probably 90% of them. But the minister's theme, and what he wanted to do is to try to make sure that the brothers and sisters throughout the nation, especially our ministry and those